So, to my First Baptist Church family, I would like to introduce you to our two refugees that we are sponsoring to come to Canada. This is Marilyn and Paul, and they are living in Malaysia. And I want Marilyn to say her Karen name.
Mine is actually the Burmese name with the Karen title. So
Okay.
it's No Menisa.
Okay, and then Paul, what's yours name?
Paul, which is my last name, and Bella, the middle name.
So Doyla is the first name and Pa is the last name. That's right. But we're very glad to call you Paul and Marilyn because it's just a little bit easier for us to get to know you. So we just wanted to give the opportunity for our church to meet you. And we're just excited about the opportunity for you to come to Canada, but we'd love to know a little bit more of your story. So I'll turn it over to Mark.
Yeah, so I guess why don't you tell us a few things about yourselves that would kind of share more about who you are, just in terms of, yeah, just some interesting things about yourselves.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Marilyn, and I belong to Karen ethnic back in Myanmar. As Karen is one of the minority ethnic from Myanmar, and currently I am staying in KL, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I am the social worker, especially a community staff for my Karen community in Malaysia. So in the community, as regardless of whoever they are, whether they are refugees or migrants or undocumented coming through illegal channels, we are helping them with to meet their social needs. Especially refugee community is quite a big community in Malaysia. And Myanmar is actually, Burmese refugees are the community is predominantly 90% of the refugee population in Malaysia. So for me, I'm only helping my ethnic communities. So we are helping them register. We have education division where we have set up community-based school for the children, because refugees are not allowed to work in Malaysia, and refugee kids are not entitled to study at government schools. And under Malaysian law, it's not protected refugees because one is also because Malaysia is not signatory to 1951 Refugee Convention and its protocols. So yeah, and then we are also helping them with working with local and international NGOs for the health issues. And for most of the time, I did community outreach a lot. So I travel a lot, but then I wasn't able to do that for quite a few years now because of COVID situation in Malaysia. Is really in a bad shape now. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm also involved with two other refugee coalition. The first one is called COBAM, Coalition of Burma Ethnics Malaysia, where it's a coalition of 7 main different ethnic groups from Kachin to Shan ethnics. Communities come together as a coalition, and we have different programs where we help different ethnic refugees in Malaysia who are in scattered across Malaysia and work in a rural area in the jungle. So we have different programs, and I am the current representative representing my community, my ethnic groups. And another group is called MURO. MURO is Myanmar Ethnic Women Refugee Organization, where we focus on women and children issues, and we included youth also. So we have given them different skills training, language trainings, and also helping them with by having case management, which we recently started to help domestic violence survivor to provide them with a temporary shelter, and also if needed, then we do case referral with different NGOs. Yeah, that's what I'm doing currently. And that's where I am now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, my name is Mpanduela. It's hard to pronounce. A lot of people, so you can call me Paul. That's what my friends do. Call me.
Mhm.
So I don't have a lot to talk about. My job scope is very small. I actually work for IRC, International Rescue Committee, and I'm actually working with RSC, which is under IRC. Uh, uh, RSC, sorry. What did I say? RSC? Did I say? Okay, RSC, Resettlement Support Center. I'm working as a translator.
Mhm.
I am Kachin, ethnic, and what else?
Did you guys meet each other in Malaysia, or were you married before, or how did you meet?
We actually met at the church, KLBC Church, Kuala Lumpur Baptist
Okay.
Church.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So in Malaysia, so your story of getting to Malaysia is different. Each your stories would be different.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Paul, how did
Yep.
you come to Malaysia?
Well, I came to Malaysia because of the incident with the junta, the Burmese military. We went on a trip, mission trip, and I was helping a pastor who who gave Bible studies to non-believers. So we went on a trip to Kachin State, to a village called Nam Shang. And we went there. I had to assist and coordinate whatever the pastor needs. Or yep, we went there and we had Bible study. And what I had to do was I had to uh, organize a Bible study and look for people who are interested. And we had Bible studies, and we didn't know that we were monitored by military intelligence. And yeah, after we had like a few Bible studies, and I was uh, uh, I was going back home, not home, but where I stayed at the village. And then two of the soldiers, uh, they arrested me, took me to the camp and questioned me and mistreated. Why we had this Bible study, how many non-believers involved, and all those questions I was asked. And yeah, that's what happened. And my mom and some of the elders from the church, from the main church, they came and bailed me out. And yeah, that's what happened. And then I had to sign on a paper that I wouldn't do such thing. Yeah. Like religious activities or any activities that I can be involved.
Hmm.
That's what I had to sign for. And yeah, and then that's how I fled into Malaysia. And yeah,
Okay. So Marilyn, for you, how did you end up in Malaysia?
My story is a lot different from Paul because he have a direct persecution and he fled the country. But for me, when I first came to Malaysia, I came here to study. I came here to study a diploma course. So it's a 2.5 year course. And then after I graduated, I got a job at UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, as an interpreter. interpreting for many refugees for 2 years. And by the time my student visa expired, almost going to expired, and I went back, where I was questioned by a senior officer at the airport. And they keep asking me the same question about whether or not I'm a genuine student studying in Malaysia. Maybe I doubt and assume that someone, but it's just my assumption. I'm not very sure. Maybe because in Malaysia, I have to renew my passport a few times at the embassy. And at that time, it was back in 2004, 2005. So we heard that there are so many Myanmar military intelligence are in Malaysia too. And we cannot really differentiate who is who, and they do really come with a title, right? So I think I assumed that someone reported me. So I was questioned about half an hour, 45 minutes at the airport. And I have this fear of, I don't know why, like they choose me particularly and then ask me question. But I went back home and almost going to be a month, and then the township council chairman is also asking my father to ask me to come to the council and like talk about what I really did back in Malaysia and stuff. So I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. I'm just like, I get salary and I work, but I know that there's a risk because helping and assisting refugees with different interviews where they really, like talk about their bad things about like bad things against military. So I really seriously, I'm not taking it seriously. But then when I was asked to be questioned by a few people and I feel really not safe, continue staying. And like when you look at the current situation in Myanmar, with a very small little things that you did can cost your life. So that's how I came back to Malaysia, and then I met Paul.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those stories. I mean, that's
Thank you.
I know different people in our church that have come from different places in the world have different stories similar to that. But for a lot of us, we can't even imagine, right? Like we just really can't even imagine the kind of situations that you've experienced. So thank you for sharing those things. I guess another question I'd like to ask is, and we'll start with Marilyn for this, is can you think of, in your current situation, can you think of a place where you have really seen God at work, right? Where you can look to something and say, okay, yeah, God is doing something good here.
Yeah, I mean, at the first place, when I think about even we have so many difficulties and challenges in Malaysia, still, even Malaysian government is always saying that refugees are not allowed to work, refugees are not allowed to go to school, but still God is making a way for us to get informal education for children. At least we have community offices that we are organized and we can help people so that people don't get lost. At least they have a small group of people, they know that we can help them in a way. So I mean, like, even in the lowest ground of our life, God is always making a way to support each other and also help each other.
Yeah, there were a lot of times that I feel like giving up. The reason we hang in there, I mean, the only reason is God. I sometimes I even thought about like suicide and stuff. Yeah, no points living in some in a country which is not our own, and God is the only thing that the only hope that I have to move on. Um, yes, a lot of depressing things at work when you um, feel that discriminated against your status.
Yeah.
I got the same I got the same qualification or credential because of my status. I can get the wages that I am supposed to get compared to other people with different status. They got the same they have the same qualification and everything. Yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, God is the only thing that I move on, or the only thing that I survive, or yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Are
sharing.
you in any danger in Malaysia, or is it more just limited opportunity?
Very limited opportunities. Um, I consider myself blessed a lot because I don't really have to think about security concern because I work in a on a compound, UNHCR compound, so it a little bit safer comparing working outside.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for example, like many people, especially refugee communities, are living on daily wages. And it's really very hard when you have a family. Like for me and Paul, still we are like two of us here, but you know, some families they have like 4 kids, 5 kids, some have a few kids, and they have to worry about daily surviving and also like supporting children with education. You know, education is also costly. And recently, last 2 weeks ago, there's someone, a refugees, that staying in another apartment, another apartment, the other blocks, jump off of the building from eighth floor,
Oh,
8th or 18th floor. I cannot remember, but they are refugees, and the suicide, like cases are rising through rising quite a significant percentage within these 2-3 years, because refugees like Paul been waited for resettlement about more than a decade.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his 11 years of staying in Malaysia, and I've been with him, and like for the first few years I'm living in Malaysia, and the years I'm living in Malaysia now, after we get married, is about almost going to be 15, 16 year for me. And you see, like sometimes people really lost hope, and they think
Yeah.
the only way is to take their own life to end this situation. So my point is that, you know um, resettlement is one thing, but then like really is your faith with God is also very important, where when you've been to the lowest part of your life, or the darkest time of your life, where for us, we know God, and we know that he will never forsake us, like he will always provide with the things that we need. So to like to survive, because we know this, and no matter what happened, life is precious, and that's what God cherish about. So no matter what, we keep supporting each other, and at the same time we always make sure that like faith is something that we base on,
Mm.
to in order to help other, and also to make sure that you are mentally, physically, and like spiritually strong enough to also give your support to the community that you are helping.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. We have some Korean families at our church, and I met with myself and a few other people met with them once just to hear a bit more about their story, and to hear a lot of times that people were in refugee camps with really nothing. Was many times it was 17 years or like well over a decade. So just the endurance that people have. And I'm so impressed from the people that I've met within our Korean community, the hope that they have, just how hospitable and generous they are. Like it's really been just a great example to me of how to live just a persistent faith in Christ. It's really been it's been very humbling. And so, we're so grateful to hear your story as well with this as well. Just, that trust that's there, but also that faithfulness of God that that is there too. So it's yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time with us. I'm very glad that our church gets to meet you a little bit. We're very grateful, Marilyn and Paul, for your time with us, and for Faith for helping us set this up as well. And so we're very glad to meet you, and we look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully sometime soon.
Hopefully sometime, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for setting up the meeting, and giving your time to get to know more about us, and also get to know more about you. And I want to thank Reverend Faye for always very, very patient with me, because I will keep going back to her, with so many questions when she asks me something, and she's always there, very attentive and very responsive. Thank you so much for that. And basically, I mean, it is quite, heartwarming, where people from totally in a different corner of the world is really put their concern and consideration and support for us. We really appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Take care.